BKRsport. We are back here for round 23 NRL tipping. We've only got 3 rounds to go now, guys. 3 rounds to go of the NRL season before we do get into the finals, and it's obviously extremely exciting because you know, the top 8 isn't technically locked off just yet. Yeah, like it is, but it's also not, because the Raiders are still giving it a good go there. The Roosters, they should be able to make it. The Raiders are going to make it tough, but in the same sense, I think I do, like I've been saying to you guys for weeks now, that I believe I know who makes the 8. I've been saying it for like 2 months, and I thought it was effectively locked off as soon as the Roosters got in there. But the Raiders are making it interesting, so we do have to, I guess, keep an open mind to the fact that they could still sneak their way in, especially with the Eels struggling. You know, there's the Broncos who are also struggling. I know they had a win against the Knights, but it was a dreadful win, and they got a few points, but still, it was a dreadful game there. Overall, it's going to be super interesting to kind of see how this season plays out from here on out, because there will be teams who rest players. There will be teams like the Panthers who still don't have their halves, and the Cowboys technically have a hunt for that minor premiership. The Wooden Spoon, on the other hand, obviously the Titans, they went off the bottom and jumped into 15th place after their victory, victory against the Manly Sea Eagles there. And the Tigers now go down to that last spot. So there is still plenty to play for here. So 3 rounds to go. Guys, let's get into the video and let's talk about who we are tipping for this week. Obviously, hit that thumbs up button, guys. Absolutely smack that thumbs up button. I do really appreciate it. And subscribe if you're new around here, as we post every single day here on this channel. Big weekend of Rugby League and also Premier League to come on the channel. But the first off game here, guys, is a massive one. It is the South Sydney Rabbitohs going up against the Penrith Panthers. Now, Rabbitohs, obviously, they're in form. They absolutely slapped the Eels over the weekend. They absolutely slapped them like 26-0 or something like that. It was ridiculous. You know, the Rabbitohs really put the Eels to the cleaners, and it was embarrassing for Parramatta, considering that they are able to beat teams like the Panthers with a full-strength team, and the Storm with a full-strength team. But then they go, and the Rabbitohs are a good team. And I got 8 from 8 tipping last week, mind you. I got 8 from 8 tipping. But the Rabbitohs are a bit of a how-you-going team as well. You know, they have that, I guess, electricity about them, and they have that. They are ambitious enough to win this competition this year. However, there are still a lot of faults in this team. So to lose that badly was horrific. I know they've got no Mitchell Moses at the moment, the Eels, but shouldn't have been losing that badly to the Rabbitohs, especially at Combank Stadium. But the Rabbitohs are a good team. They're into 5th right now. They do have a chance to actually make that top 4 if they keep on pushing. And this is a big game for them right here. For the Penrith Panthers, obviously they're still missing Cleary, they're still missing Luai. Edwards was a huge loss on the weekend against the Storm. Massive loss there for Dylan Edwards, and I just don't think they win this game. I really don't. I'm going to take the Rabbitohs here. I think the Rabbitohs are in form. I still have the Panthers to win the comp. And I think people are going to start to write them off like they did last year, and I was like, well, hold on a second, you know, like there's going to be a fresh Cleary and fresh Luai going into the finals. And for me, you know, I just don't see anyone beating them with a full-strength team at the moment still. So I think if they lose this as well to the Rabbitohs, I think they'll get the job done. And yeah, the Rabbitohs will, I don't know who the Storm play. Oh, I can see the Storm play. Rabbitohs will still probably stay in 5th, I would personally say. Alrighty, next up game, guys, we do have the North Queensland Cowboys versus the New Zealand Warriors. Cowboys got brought back down to earth by the Sydney Roosters in the last game, but absolutely smackarooned up. It was a close-ish game for a bit, but overall the Roosters were much the better team. Warriors, on the other hand, they got a good win over there in New Zealand. I did say that obviously I thought that they were going to have that home ground advantage against the Bulldogs. Tipped the Warriors, and obviously that came good. But I think this one's pretty obvious for me. I think it's pretty obvious for me, and I'm going to go by 18 points there for the margin. I just think the Cowboys are going to be way too good in North Queensland. Obviously, they did lose in that game against the Roosters, which was representation of Paul Green and his life and celebrating his life. This goes back up to home now for them, and they're going to celebrate his life again up there, I would personally say. And I think this game is going to be the one they're really going to put a score on for him. I think that also the Cowboys are not guaranteed top 4 yet. So by winning this game, they are locked in for the top 4. If they win this game, they're locked in for the top 4. And you'd arguably lock in top 3. The Sharkies, they're looking pretty good. They could easily make that 2nd spot theirs as well. But I think the Cowboys, it's going to absolutely rock this one home and put a score on the Warriors. And the Warriors, you know, we're just waiting for next year. You know, go home and they'll get their home ground advantages, which would be great to see for them. But it's not next year just yet. So I'll be taking the Cowboys there. Next up here, we've got a Friday night, which is the Brisbane Broncos versus the Melbourne Storm. Broncos. That was a dreadful game. I'm sorry, I don't know what... I think it's Brisbane fans trying to make out like that was an impressive win against the Knights. my God, it was not an impressive win against the Knights. They won, but yeah, it wasn't anything special. Let's put it that way. It was not anything special. But they did win. They did win there. It's at Suncorp. Obviously, if they win this game, that they are 100% guaranteed for the finals. But the Storm, they are trying to hold off the Rabbitohs there in that top 4 race. And the Storm came off a very good win against the Panthers. And they looked good. I told you guys at one stage, the Storm are going to find their form. The Storm are going to find their form. They're going to get back into it. And you guys are going to be like, holy shit, this team's actually still pretty good. It's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. They are pretty good, the Storm. And I'm going to take them here too. I think they're going to be too good for the Broncos. I know it's at Suncorp, but the Storm have won, I think, the last 10 games in a row against the Broncos as well. They've got a good record against them recently, and yeah, look, they've still got players out here and there, but their back line's pretty lethal at the moment, like, especially since they got Nofaluma. You know, their fullback in McManey is still pretty damn well good. They've got Munster, they've got Hughes, they've got this, they've got that. They've got a great team. You know, they've got a really good team there. So, Justin Olam is just a killer as per usual. So I'm going to take the Storm there. We're going to move past the women's games, guys. If you want me to do tips for the women's as well, let me know in the chat. I will take the Roosters here. I'll click it for now. If you guys, let me know in the comment section if you want me to be tipping the women's games as well for next week. But we do move into the Squeals versus the Canterbury Bulldogs. The last time these two teams played, wowee, ouchie, mama, we saw the Eels get absolutely slappity 34-4 by the Doggies. And I think it was at CommBank as well, but it was a Bulldogs home game. The Eels obviously coming off a huge loss. They should bounce back here. I'm going to tip them here. I'm going to tip them before I even speak about it. But I'm going to take the Eels because surely they get this job done here. Surely they don't allow this one to be a blowout again. This is a really important game for Parramatta to solidify themselves in the 8. I think they make the 8 regardless, but still, I think they really need to win this game here to, I guess, get their motivation back in and get them believing about themselves again, because they can win the comp this year if they really, had a full team and had that motivation behind them. But then again, Parramatta, they will choke at some stage. I don't know how to say it. Parramatta should be winning this game very easily. They should be winning this game by a similar margin to what the Doggies beat them by in the last game. But the Dogs coming off a loss to the Warriors over there in New Zealand looked pretty poor. A lot of knock-ons, a lot of mistakes there. Not the finished product at all. I keep saying this to Dogs fans. Settle down, relax. Things are changing, but you're not a world beater just yet. You're not a world beater just yet. So I've got the Eels to win here. I will go 13+. Yeah, I will go 13+. I think they will get the job done here, Parramatta, by a decent stretch. We move on down now to the Manly Seagulls versus the Cronulla Sharks. Now, thank you very much, Manly. The Titans, we finally got a win against a team, and it was against Manly. So thank you, Manly. Thank you, my son, Joshy Schuster, for that victory there. But I just don't think Manly can win this. I think they're a bit of a shambles right now. The team is just all over the shop right now in the media. They lost that game. They're now out of the race for the 8. Had someone come to my recent vlog saying, oh, Manly make the 8, Titans can't make the 8. It's like, we're both not making the 8, thanks for coming. But there's a lot of media shenanigans going on right now, and Desi Hasler's copping flack, the whole team's copping flack. It seems like there is a massive disjointed locker room based on what happened a couple of weeks ago, and also the fact that they've had injuries all season long. Tommy Trbojevic has been gone for effectively the season, right? So Manly are a schmozzle, and the Sharkies, they're playing for a top 2 spot. They're looking really good. Their defense is pretty solid, and their attack is pretty good. So I think there's only really one answer here, and that is the Sharks to win. But I will say this. Manly have a good record against the Sharks. Manly have been the bogey side of the Sharks for a very long time now. I think the Sharks win even at Brookie, but don't be surprised this is a very close game. Don't be surprised if Manly give this one a good go here and show people that they're still a good team, but I think they'll still come up short, because I think the likes of Nico Hines will be able to get them over the line here, the Sharks. But I'm going to tip a close game. I'm going to say a 1-12 here. I don't think that Manly should be losing 1-12. I think they should be losing 13+ in this game. But you can't ever forget about that bogey side curse that we see with these two teams, where Sharks usually don't beat Manly. So I'll take the Sharkies here. I'll take 1 to 12. Could win 13 plus, should win 13 plus, but I think that the bogey curse will, I guess, linger, and the Sharks will have a close win at Brookvale. Saturday is 7:35 p.m. The Sydney Juxters versus the Tigers. Thank you for coming. Let's move on now. Dragons and the Titans. I'll give them a little bit of a go. I'll give them a little bit of a go there. Roosters look good. Been saying for a couple of months now. You know, they're my dark horses, and now people are starting to call them their dark horses. Like, well, they're not really dark horses anymore. But it was just funny that obviously this happened last year where people wrote off the Rabbitohs, and I kept saying, settle down, they're still a good team, they'll sort it out. And they did sort it out, didn't win the comp. I don't know if the Roosters win the comp, I still think the Panthers do. But I've been saying for about 2.5 months now, even when they were outside of the 8, had a tough run home, people were saying they're not going to make the 8. I said, you watch, they can still make the grand final. And look right now, everyone's now saying, oh, wait a second, this team might win the grand final, might make the grand final. It's like, yeah, been saying that for a while now. But I'm going to take the Roosters here. Tigers are not good. The Tigers, they're just not good. And the Roosters should be able to really put them to the sword here. They should be able to really win this one convincingly. And if they win this game, they're not locked in for the 8 because the Raiders still have a game. But they're locked in for the 8. The Roosters are locked in for the 8. I just can't see the Raiders getting that extra 2 wins. They need, out of 3 games to go, the Raiders would need to win 2. They would need to win all 3, and the Roosters to lose 2 of those 3. And I just don't see that happening. So, and especially with this one here being the Tigers, yeah. Yeah, so, West Tigers fans, I know you pretend like you've got no spoons, even though you've got about 21 of them through West and Balmain, but it's looking like there might be 22. If there's not, it'll be my team. Fair enough, but we now get to my team, which is the Dragons versus the Gold Coast of the Titans. And Titans aren't favourites here, but the Titans have won 4 games this year. One against Manly on the weekend, Tigers, Warriors, and the Dragons at Magic Round, which was before this weekend. The last win for the Titans actually came against the Dragons back in May 16 for Magic Round. So, you know, and the Titans have a good record against the Dragons in recent years. They just always seem to have go. Like I say to you all the time, guys, I'm more than likely going to be tipping the Titans here. I actually, you know what, I'm just going to click it here just so that you can see. I'm going to take the Titans here because it's my team. I always believe my team can win. You have to look through what I say and then apply it to your own beliefs, and then, yeah, you know, potato, tomato, get into it. Right, don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to my mind. Dragons, they're not good. They're not great. You know, I love the hypocrisy of the Dragons fan base, right? They were happy to wipe off the sin bin and penalty that the Raiders should have got in that earlier season matchup between the 2 with Ben Hunt in the 80th minute. But then they complain that their season's been ruined by the referees when the exact same situation has happened against the Raiders in a follow-up game. You know, that's just literal the peak of karma. You know, the Raiders, and yes, I agree with you that it should have been probably a penalty and whatnot, Blake Lowry and whatnot. Not the point. You were happy to take the 1 earlier in the season, but the exact same situation happens to you, the exact same team, and now it's unacceptable? You're a moron. If you think that, you're a moron. Like, just settle down and just enjoy the game, because if you're gonna say that's okay, this isn't okay, well then you're an idiot. Right? So it's just how things roll. Right? You take the wins and you take the losses and you take the bad calls and you get the good calls. It's all part of the game. Right? And that's why I've taken myself away from heavily, you know, going at the referees now. Like, when they need to be insulted, I will insult them, absolutely, and fair enough. But I'm not, like, investing my entire emotions into referee calls, because no matter what, you'll get good calls and you'll get bad calls. There were some bad calls against Manly in that Titans game as well. But we've had a lot of bad calls this year too. It's just how things go. But I continuously tell you guys, I don't know why the Dragons are there. I don't even know how the Dragons are there. If it wasn't for Ben Hunt, this team probably wouldn't spoon. Right? This team is there or thereabouts, but they're not really kind of making any, I guess, ground on. Like, I still feel like the Dragons don't know what they are as a team. I really do feel like the Dragons don't know whether they're in a rebuild and they want to blow it all up, or they're kind of got a competitive team, so let's just kind of weigh it out. No, I'm sorry, I don't believe so. I don't believe this team is going to win a comp. You bought a whole bunch of reject players from here, there, and everywhere. It's time to rebuild. It's time to blow it up. And it's time to move on. Right? And for the Dragons, they need to understand this for me. I don't think they're comprehending. They're not a competitive team. You made the 8 this year. What do you do? Get knocked out first round. You're not progressing. I don't think anyone who's not a Dragons fan thinks that the Dragons are progressing at all. I don't see any progression here. I don't see any future here. I just see it's probably the weirdest team in the comp for me right now. I would say that the Dragons are probably the weirdest team in the comp, because although I want to see them do something, and although I want to see them kind of restructure where they're at, they're not, and they're ignoring the issues. So for me, I'm taking the Titans here. I know that the favourites are the Dragons. I still believe the Titans can win this. Bobby Firma had a great game on the weekend. We also saw, obviously, Tanner Boyd having a great game in the number 7. And this team really has that ability. They put 44 points past Manly and Amelia in their own situation. Shit situation, not just situation. But they put 44 points behind them, which is the highest score we've ever got, by the way. 44 is always what we get to. We've never broken 44. We did it 3 times last year, did it again this year. We can't get past that 44-point marker. But it just shows the ability this team does have that we all believed in pre-season that hasn't happened this year. So I'm taking the Titans here. Let's go the Gold Coast. The final game of the week. Ooh, for the women's game, it's actually a tough one here. This is actually a tough one. I'm going to go the Knights. The Knights have got a pretty good team this year to make it up to the Melly Boyle going across the Knights. So we'll select them quickly. But for the men's game, the Newcastle Knights take on, by the way, NRL, just quickly. So stupid to have the women's game after the NRL. I just want to throw this out. Love the women's game. I will go to watch the women's this year. But you are crazy to think that people who aren't like myself and just casuals are going to stick around at the stadium after the men's game. You put it on beforehand or no one's going to watch it. Well done. You've played yourself. Straight up. You've played yourself. It's silly. It's silly. It is silly. But you do you. You know more than me, right? Alright, so let's move on to the men's game. Knights versus the Raiders in Newcastle. I actually find it crazy the Knights are $3.50. I find it crazy that those are the odds. I'm taking the Raiders and I'm taking them all day, every day. Taking them all day, every day. The Knights, not going to have Callum Ponga. They're not going to have Bradman Best. Not going to have Anaru Twala. Their whole team is just in tatters right now. David Clem, I don't even know he's playing. What is going on in Newcastle? You know, to compare them to the Dragons in that sense, like, the Knights went through a rebuild and then had a half-assed rebuild. As soon as they, I guess, got Pearce and Ponga, they forgot about the rebuild and they just kind of started, I guess, being a bit too reliant on those guys. And now, they're going to go back to being that team we saw the 2010s at this stage. Like, this team is on a major downfall. A major downfall right now. Right? And they need to sort this out very fast, or they will return to what we saw in the 2010s. Because that 2010s team, where they won 3 spoons in a row, was the worst rugby league team to ever rugby league. Just want to throw that out there, right? The Knights have been a relatively strong team the last couple of years, but they've also had a lot missing, right? They still had a massive negative points differential, and they made 7th last year. Even the Titans, who made 8th, had a less point differential than they did by a decent bit. I mean, they had like minus 120 and they hit 7th, which shows the competition last year comparatively to, you know, other years. This year, look at them, they're all plus. They're all plus by a decent margin, right? So, I really have no idea what the Knights are doing. I'm scared for them as a club. I'm scared because they are a proud club historically. You know, Andrew Johns and the likes, Danny Medeiros, the Chief, you know, great team. But damn, they've fallen off, and they're continuously falling off. They're consistently being down here at the bottom area of the table. And they're lucky they won a couple of games here and there throughout this season. But I don't know if they win another game of the year. I really don't. They could still finish in last. If the Tigers and Titans both win 2 games respectively, the Knights will finish in last for me, because the Titans actually play the Knights at Seabus next week, which is a big game, because if the Titans win this game, the Knights will lose this game, and then the Titans win the game after that against the Knights, the Titans will jump above them as well. Be very careful, Newcastle. Very careful. Braves, on the other hand, they're fighting the top 8. I know I went on to the Knights a little bit too long there, but it is what it is. You know, I'm passionate about this sport, and it's my channel. I'll go for as long as I want. That's why I put the timestamp so you guys can see what's going on when it's going on. But the Raiders, they should win this. I think the Raiders are defensively good. I think the Raiders are okay. They're fine. I still don't think that they'll make the 8. I think the Roosters probably could win all 3 games to finish off the season, or, you know, and the Raiders could finish off all 3 and still not make it. So yeah, I'm sorry for the Raiders. I think they're just going to miss out. But you know, overall, they did to themselves with that poor start to the season. It was a very poor start to the season for Canberra. If it wasn't for that, they probably would have made it. Probably would have made it. The Roosters probably would have missed out, or the Broncos, teams like that. But I got them to win this one, and I got them to win 13 plus. So I got them to win very, very well there. But guys, that is it for today's tipping video. Obviously, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new around here. We have a lot of streams this weekend. I'm not going to be going down to Wollongong for the Titans-Dragons game. I'm going to be streaming it for the first time since, I think, the Manly game or the Roosters game was the last time we streamed. I've been to the last 11 weeks in a row. No matter where they are, so I've decided this week I'm just going to take a bit of a kickback. I'm just going to watch the game at home here with you guys, and then next week we have a game at home before the final game of the season against the Warriors in New Zealand. But yeah, we've got Premier League, we've got Rugby League, we've got heaps of stuff coming up. So, like I said, thumbs up, subscribe, comment your tips below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.